Level Up Latina partners with working women and mamas alike to guide them in achieving fulfilling career and life goals through financial empowerment, professional or leadership coaching, and personal wellness. Find the unique coaching you need to succeed.
You're listening to Vero, Ceci, and Irene, and we are Level Up Latina.
This is episode 196. Wow, vamos llegando al 200. Ya vamos llegando. Wow, I can't believe it. Well, I can't believe it because we've been very, very, very dedicated to this and we've been very consistent. Las quiero un chingo. Somos chingonas las tres. So today we're going to be talking about, have you ever done anything solo, solita? And if so, what did it feel like? And ¿te quedaron ganas de volver a hacerlo? And before we talk about that, let's check in con mis chicas aquí súper poderosas, Irene y Ceci. ¿Cómo están?
Muy bien. Estamos todas, creo, I'm speaking for myself, but it seems like todas las tres estamos de buen humor. We just had an amazing guest and if you heard last week's episode, you know who she was. So nos puso de buen humor, I think, a las tres. It's Friday. We have the day off. And so, yeah, it's a nice spring day. Let's put it that way.
Feeling good. I bought a house earlier this week, but I'll save it for another show.
Hey.
So excited.
Hey.
Long story. We'll probably have to put it in random to tell the long story, but I'm super excited. So I'm in moving mode and getting ready mode, and Diego and I are on Pinterest and sharing the randomest adult things that you would share in these.
Love it. I love it.
And yeah, we have all this really fun stuff happening at the house tomorrow. So it's going to be fun. I'm glad it's not raining anymore so we can get some sun. So doing good, Vero.
Mm-hmm. Qué bien, me encanta. So, a ver, chicas, la pregunta del día es, have you ever done anything solo, solita? And if so, what was it? What did it feel like to do it? So
I traveled to study abroad solita the summer of... ¿Qué año fue, dude? 2002, I think? Yeah, summer 2002. So 20 plus years ago, I studied abroad. I went that summer abroad through college, through UCSB. And I want to say some of you guys or one of you guys or Cynthia and Lise were supposed to do it. I don't know. It fell through anyway. So I ended up doing it by myself, essentially. El grupo de nuestras amigas. I sign up, I go through it, and I go to las prácticas or whatever, the study abroad. And because I was supposed to have done it the prior fall with another group of friends, but that was when 9/11 happened and I was scared, so I opted not to do it. So anyway, the following summer I do it, and no sé, usually para viajar a otro país, my first time in Europe too. I just got the guts from being a 20-something-year-old, 20, I guess I was 20, yeah, 20 at the time. Y me fui, and allí hice amistades, and it was a great experience. I got to meet other students from other UCs, so that was pretty cool, and, connect with those students. And even I met, two students from UCSB that I had never met. They were Latinas, I remember, but I never reconnected with them afterwards. But anyway, it was a great experience, and then I traveled to other countries by myself after the program, so that was exciting. Up until the point I got homesick. I want to say that maybe the third or fourth country that I traveled to was Italy. Y como que me dio nostalgia. I remember getting to my little hotel and then just being a little nervous to go out by myself because I got there at night, I remember. And I just remember it was at nighttime, and then I got to my hotel and I was excited because I was at a new place, but then I was a little afraid to go out by myself, and so I didn't that night. And I remember calling home, and I was crying on the phone with my mom, and I was it's just me siento sola, And anyway, ya el next day ya me fui a turistear, and I was fine, and chit-chatting with people. But yeah, that was one experience that I did when I was 20, and I don't think I've done it since. I haven't traveled by myself since. It's always been con amigas, now with my husband or kids, or with family. But since then, ya nunca más volví a viajar sola. I don't know why. I think, no se ha prestado otra vez. And it was a thing that I did in the past, in my 20s, when I was in college. I don't think I'll do it again. I don't know. Quién sabe, pero prefiero hacerlo con amigas or, with my husband when traveling now. So.
That sounds good. Nice, young, adventurous soul. A ver,
the same thing, in fact, but it was the opposite story. So I went abroad too, sola. We all kind of go alone, but I recently went to Australia sola, and I remember feeling like that was a big trip to go all the way over there alone. And even though I've gone to conferences and whatnot, I often will take someone with me because it's a great thing to do. Your job's going to pay for the car, your job's going to pay for the hotel. So I would take my kids, I would take my husband, and I remember thinking all the way to Australia, I'm just going to go alone. I regretted it because I had like a layover in Fiji. I should have just taken my husband and we could have had like a honeymoon vibe. But it was also really freaking nice to be in Australia by myself. It made me feel like I want to go to more places solo, like just do that whole vibe. And sometimes I feel like I'm alone when I'm just with the kids because I'm like the only adult and they're looking to me and I got to make sure they're safe, but I'm not truly alone. I'm with my kids, but that was a cool experience. But to get away from travel, I think other things that I like to do alone that I'd like to encourage other people to do is just like, I like myself. So being by myself. So I will go to a movie by myself. I will go eat by myself. I will go to a nice restaurant by myself. And I think that's really good for all of us to be okay with being in public alone, reading a book, enjoying the scenery, having a cup of coffee. That's something I actually love to do. Like after I work out, like go to coffee shops and sit outside. It's just, especially a nice neighborhood, nice weather, and you always meet randos and you talk about people's kids and dogs, and that's kind of fun too, to like meet people, because when you're alone, especially, like I think people almost sometimes maybe they feel sorry for you, or maybe there are also other solo people, but it's kind of cool to be alone. And I don't just mean like running errands to Target by yourself. Like everybody does that. I mean like intentionally going to treat yourself to a nice meal, intentionally going to see a movie. You really want to see a movie? It hasn't worked with anyone else. It's not in their schedule. Everyone's busy. Go alone. Like, especially going to a movie. I hear a lot of people say like, oh, I would never go to the movies myself. Like, why not? I've had some of the funnest times at movies by myself because like I really wanted to see a movie that nobody else wanted to see. So I'm like, I want to see that weird movie. The last one I saw alone, it's like a super weird movie. What was that actor? River Phoenix's brother. I think it was the movie Her. So it's been a while.
Joaquin Phoenix? That one's such an odd movie too with the AI.
That's an odd movie, but no one wanted to see it with me. So I'm like, I'm going alone. Like, it's all good.
Oh, yo también he querido ver esa película.
I think it's odd and I like it. And
it's super odd, but it's
I think it's on Netflix, isn't it now? I thought it was.
I think it is now.
I'm going to check it out.
I don't know. I haven't seen it. Like, but I remember being at that theater. Like, I got my little popcorn. I was in the back of Manhattan Beach, and I thought that was kind of fun to do that. So I didn't want to just talk about travel. I thought other things, but maybe Vero has the third super secret thing she's done a last time alone and really liked.
Oh my God.
Alone and really liked.
I've done just how you ladies mentioned, like I feel that the eating on your own is amazing, especially if you're like, you put your phone away, like you're intentional with it. You put your phone away. You're not just being distracted by the phone or the book. And you're just like, I'm really going to just enjoy me and this meal and every piece of it. That's one of the beautiful things that I do. Travel, I mean, I've done it by myself. I've done some dumb shit traveling by myself into Mexico, all that stuff, but thankfully safe. But I think for me, solo, where it was kind of, I was giving a little bit of odd eyes, was a concert. So I took myself on a date. I got some good food. I got to the concert place con tiempo, me estacioné. I walked to this place. And the thing is that this day I was listening to NPR and they were talking about this group, these two dudes, se llaman Black Violin. And I'm like, what? I've never heard of them. And they did like classical music with like a little bit of hip hop, but they played everything through their violins and they would, it was just really cool. And I'm like, it sounded amazing. And I'm like, who else is going to want to nerd out with me on this stuff? And I'm like, let me check. So normally, like if I went to sporting events, like if I would go to a Dodger game, I would just get 2 tickets and invite someone with me. But like so anyway, I ended up buying a ticket. I was looking to buy 2 so I can invite someone like, hey, just join me. This would be fun. There were no tickets left. I think I bought there was 2 tickets left and I bought one of them and they weren't together. They were like in separate areas. I was like, okay, well, I'm not inviting anyone to sit like away from me. So I'm going to go by myself because I really want to check this out. I ended up going and I had the best time solita, like just learning about these 2 men, what they're doing and, classical music plus the hip hop, keeping it real to the roots. And I had such a good time. I met the people around me. They were kind of like, look at this white girl trying to like rock out with these people, right? But I'm like, no, I'm Latina and I'm vibing. But it was just really, really fun. Just seeing something new, being by myself. I wasn't with a crowd. And at the end, there was a chance to meet the artist. I didn't do that. But I remember feeling like walking out of there, I'm like, I'm glad I did this. I got to experience something new. I learned about this group. I learned about the music. I learned something about me. Like I can really just have fun solita without having to always bring someone along. And I had experienced that before, But at that point, I was already older. I was about 34? So it wasn't anything, unusual. So I love how Irene mentioned, and I'm going to repeat that enjoying your own company is amazing because most of the time you will be solita. You will be on your own, and that is okay because if you can't enjoy yourself, you can't enjoy your thoughts, you can't enjoy being present, que te ganas because you have you to carry along for the rest of your life. And there isn't always going to be someone there to like egg you on or do this. It's like you need to be able to know you, what makes you happy, what brings you joy, what makes you upset, what makes you upset, what triggers you, like all this stuff. And if you realize what those things are, like you're just learning so much more things about yourself and it's going deeper and deeper than just the superficial level of you. So I think
such a good point. I was going to mention 2 points that brought up for me. One, this is not the point that I was going to mention, but it reminded me of like recently I told y'all I went to church alone for my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tell y'all how my mom was all stressed after.
Sí.
She called me for me. I think I maybe said it on the show. Yeah, like that's kind of funny, right? But that's so that generation, like my mom thinking something's wrong with you if you're by yourself, that's just weird. Like, no, mom, I felt good. Like, pero ¿por qué vas sola? Yo voy contigo. Like, are you okay? Like she thought something was wrong with my husband. I know I've already said this on the show, but I think that's so funny. And I love being the opposite of that. I think for our generation, like we're even more attached to distractions like little said phone and go and being career driven and busy and kids schedules that like we need to stop and do things that are just about being present. And so church is a good example. No one's gonna have their phone out and their book out at church. You have to be present and listen and there. And so I highly recommend that if anybody's like a spiritual person, it's okay to go to church alone. I know we definitely didn't grow up going to church alone, but it felt good. My second point was what you were just saying, Vero, about this is our life. Like this is the only life we get. Like we're going to be with ourselves forever. In our thoughts, we don't know who's going to survive it, right? We don't know what life's going to bring year after year. So it's so important to be good with ourselves. This morning, Diego was saying a really cool thing about something he read or heard that Eckhart Tolle said. I don't know if you guys know who Eckhart Tolle is, but he's an author that's written really great books. A New Earth is one of the books that he wrote that like Oprah Winfrey was like super into, and they did a book club. We did that several years ago, but he has a book called The Power of Now. And that's such a great book. So it's going to be the tip of the day. Like if you're feeling like you want to be more centered, spend more time with yourself, like just start focusing on the now. And Eckhart Tolle and The Power of Now was really good. But Diego was saying that he heard him say this soundbite today or recently where he says, you can be so good doing everything right. You can be so good having lived your whole life, collecting all the wins and doing everything right. But that still doesn't mean that you lived your life. Like you were so busy, achievements or schedules or everything else going on. But in the middle of the mundane of every day, that's having life, like not having a busy schedule, not looking forward to the next thing, not living by a calendar. It's like literally life. It's like sitting down and going to church or having a cup of coffee or playing with your dog or being with a baby. Babies smile. They only know how to be present. They make you happy. Like a baby doesn't make us sad. I mean, maybe if they're pissed themselves and crying, right? But being present, that's like living. That is absolutely living, like being at the coffee shop and looking at the people. The other day I was at the coffee shop sola, and I felt like these 2 guy cops and these 2 girl cops, like, I don't know if they met there on purpose, but it was like a sheriff and the local police department. And I felt they were like flirting. And I'm like, am I watching like a random double date? But it was so fun. The beauty of being alone. I'm like, observing these people. I'm seeing being chismosa, listening to their conversation. 2 of them found out they went to high school together. And I'm just like, I wonder what the backstory is here. Like, why are these random 4 cops at this coffee shop? Like this feels like planned. Like this is a double date. Anyway, the point is the power of now. I remember that. About that day. I don't remember what spin class I took. I don't remember what time that spin class. I don't remember any other meeting from that day. If I met with a client, if I went to the office, but I remember sitting in that freaking coffee shop, wondering about these cops, enjoying the weather, having a delicious cup of coffee. Coffee bean is my fave. Coffee bean is my fave. So my point is that living is in the everyday. And solitas, I think we get to absorb more of it. Being alone, you really get to feel that you're living your life. I think it's really great. Get away from the noise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought Starbucks was your favorite, but...
oh my God, I was thinking the same thing. Alguien se divorció del Starbucks.
Really, no, I go to Starbucks so much because they're convenient, because it's easier and it works in my life because they're everywhere. But only Diego knows that the truth is I love me some coffee bean. And only a few coffee beans have drive-thrus. That's their drawback too. But we have one in Redondo that has a drive-thru. So I avoid it because it doesn't have drive-thru.
It's teaching you to slow down. Coffee bean is reminding you to slow the fuck down. Yeah.
I have to get out of the car. I have to go and sit.
You know what? That's something I enjoy too. Mi cafecito yo sola. Like en las mañanas, like on the weekends, after the chaos of the birthdays, the morning breakfast.
They have a birthday every day in their house.
Every day we have a birthday here.
Mhm.
Actually, we do, because los monos de las niñas are like, oh, ¿qué hora es cumpleaños de baile? ¿Qué hora es cumpleaños de that? Anyway, so in the mornings, I like to like just sit yo sola en la cocina, have mi cafecito warm, for once or at least once a week, caliente allí, and just I should put my phone away because then that gets distracted. Like, I don't know, with my journal or something. And when the girls, mami, I'm like, váyanse. Yo quiero estar ahorita sola, déjenme por favor. But I should go to a coffee shop. Maybe this weekend me hago eso, like con mi cafecito, mi journal. Maybe I'll leave my phone in the car. I don't know, be adventurous like that.
What a risk taker. What a risk taker.
At least if you're not hiking, you're okay. If you're not hiking and you're out somewhere and you need call for help, then no. But if it's somewhere when it's not like, you know what I love doing too, like window shopping, like going for strolls. Like I would do this a lot. I would go and walk the beach. When I feel that the ocean's very healing, so iba y me caminaba a la playa, me llevaba mi cafecito, me escondía mi cervecita, lo que sea, because you're not supposed to drink at the beach. Public property, right? It's public domain. So, but just being there, like, so like just watching nature, like one of my favorite places I would go to, and when we were at UCSB, was Campus Point. And a veces, I think back now, a veces me iba en el día throughout the day, and I would see like the runners coming by, I would see the people surfing. But sometimes I would go at night, and I was always a night owl, and then I just always felt like I need to feel grounded. So me iba Campus Point and just sit there. And I felt like me sentaba right at the edge, put my feet over the little cliff, like not hanging, but I would sit at the furthest point I could to be able to feel like I was in the water. Right. And, so sitting there on Campus Point, like on the cliffs and just watching the ocean, hearing the ocean. And at night, it was just so particularly beautiful because if it wasn't a foggy night, you could see the stars, you could see the moon if the moon was out. Y me sentía like, it would help me feel like I am part of this greater awesomeness that is our world, our universe, and it would just really help me clear my mind, how I felt, whatever was like tugging at me that made it seem like it was just hard to go to the next day and move forward. It just really brought perspective back into me, like how little I am in this grand scheme of things, and how whatever happened to me that day that caused me to feel whatever I was feeling, I needed to process this and be like, this was just a speck, an instant in my life story. And I know I would I don't think I've ever been considered one of those people that are deep, but I like to put things into perspective for myself and just feel like, okay, Vero, that was shitty, what you went through, what you experienced, but let's process it. Let's get through it. And how can we make tomorrow better? And being there in the presence of greatness, God, the universe, todo, me sentía like things were gonna work out for me because I was okay in processing my thoughts, my feelings, that wasn't clouded or crowded with outside voices or something distracting me. It was always just a beautiful moment to like ground myself again and say, si se puede, one step forward, one baby step, one at a time. Little baby steps turn into 3 big steps. And, it's scary, but we have to learn how to love us and take care of us and spend time with us, with ourselves.
Eso sí. Eso sí.
Y la playa, you're right. It's healing. I love going on, even if it's just going to be a short little run, I love going on the beach because, y descalza. Like, I think I've said it on the podcast before, but I go in my little flip-flops with, my running gear or whatever, but in my little flip-flops, and then I stick the flip-flops in the sand, like in a spot where I know they're going to be at when I come back. And then I just run along the water, and like sometimes like the water splashes me, or sometimes like, if it's too cold, maybe I won't step in the water, but it just feels so good. Y me gusta estar sola and just kind of see it and appreciate the ocean and appreciate the fact that I'm so close to it. So it's definitely healing. It definitely makes me feel good. And it's something that I love doing by myself.
I'm glad you do that. So chicas, find your campus point. Find your campus point, know?
Tip of the day.
Tip of the day. I know this is usually Irene, but ahorita I'm like thinking, what would be like Irene's like, I I like me. I love me. You know, I've traveled, I've done this, I've done that. Ceci, también tú. Like, it's just like really finding that place that vibes with us. So find your campus point. Don't be afraid of spending time with yourself. And if some of those thoughts are a little bit like, que no puedes con ellos, process them, write them down, write them a goodbye letter, you know, send them away, acknowledge them and goodbye. I mean, some of us have practiced yoga before, and yoga is great at doing that. Like, you focus on one thing, you focus on your breath, right? And then as thoughts come in, distracting you from breathing, you kind of acknowledge them and you say, okay, bye. Ahorita no podemos hablar contigo. Bye. We'll see you later. Come back to me after my yoga session. But slowly but surely you start like acknowledging that those thoughts are there. You breathe through it and it helps you realize like, it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. So if you're going through a hard time, you're trying to make decisions, if you're enjoying your company, todo lo que está pasando es todo temporary. You know, let's find a way to make it to the next day or to the next step. Sí se puede.
And if you have too much alone time and you want the opposite, then the same applies. If you feel that you are only with your thoughts and only driving yourself crazy and overthinking and you need other people, that's also going to take the same level of oomph. Like, find your community. If you heard last week's episode, there was so much love around an effing community. And so find your community, find a place to see that you belong and feel heard and communicate with like-minded women or mentors or any kind of group, church groups, work groups, social groups. So do what you need if you are feeling that you have too much solo time.
Perfect. So you heard it here. You heard it here. Ceci, any last words?
No, enjoy yourself.
Ceci's like, what else can we talk about that we do solo? ¿Verdad, Ceci? Let's not talk about that today.
Not today.
We'll save it for another day. Okay, chicas. Well, thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Level Up Latina podcast. We're so grateful that you took the time to hang out with us for a short and sweet episode today. And if you want to find us and learn more about our community, we have the Guilt-Free Squad. You can find that at leveluplatina.com, where the podcasts come to life. The podcasts come to life, Gangnam Style. Okay. What is wrong with me? Anyway. That just made me think of another story, but we're ending the podcast right now. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Find us at leveluplatina.com. You can learn about our Guilt-Free Squad community. You can learn about us, 3 amazing mujeres, and how you can possibly work with us. And thank you for tuning in. Find us on Instagram as well. And on el Facebook, somos las cuarentonas y buenonas. That's why we still have el face. So you can find us at Level Up Latina. And en el Twitter, de vez en cuando, las tías se ponen ahí a platicar. And we are at Latina_up. Other than that, thank you everyone today. And also, actually, if they want to keep this conversation going and you want to share what you have done solo and what came from it, send us an email at admin@leveluplatina.com. So gracias a todas y todas. Se cuidan. Have a great rest of your day.
Don't forget to level up.
Level up.
Oh, besos.
Thank you, girl.